the media can use to, I guess, make the story a little bit more interesting is something that hits the headlines, then people will click on it just because they want something, a little bit different to read about rather than the standard sort of political fare. It's what we call clickbait. Well, really, I think the controversy came up through the ambassador's comments himself that he made to the international media. The issue is that Ambassador Harris has a mustache that looks a lot like former Japanese leaders had during the period of time when Japan colonized the Korean Peninsula. But Ambassador Harris also points out that it also resembles a mustache worn by independence fighters for South Korea. This issue was being kind of bandied about on social media and got the attention of Ambassador Harris, and then he shared that with the international media, which then reported on the issue. The U.S. ambassador has been very assertive in bringing up his contention and U.S. President Donald Trump's contention that South Korea should pay exorbitantly more, something like 400% more, for hosting U.S. troops here in the country. I think they look at it more as if South Korea has some problems with the U.S. policy toward South Korea on a number of fronts. And by the ambassador himself to suggest that criticism of him and criticism of his policies was somehow attached to how he looked or his heritage, the fact that he's a Japanese American, an American of Japanese descent. Well, I think really it's kind of a media football that was kicked around by both the group that I guess takes exception to the policies that are implemented by the U.S. and by Ambassador Harris here in South Korea. Well, I think this just kind of reflects the fact that the international community really doesn't understand the relationship and the animosity and the history between South Korea and Japan. This region isn't something that's close to the sort of political understanding of the average American or even the average European. They're kind of stuck in their own, bubble of news consumption and current affairs consumption and don't really get into the in-depth, detailed, oriented perspective that needs to be developed in order to understand relations between South Korea and Japan. And it also shows how that relationship can be obscured by other issues that aren't really related. And I believe also, most importantly, it shows that South Korea needs to maintain its position that the world needs to understand this relationship and Japan's history, especially when Japan continues to be in denial of that history and continues to try to whitewash that history.